historic Ritz Theater in Winter Haven on Saturday, June 29th. We will be hosting 2 showings of the movie musical 1776, one at 2 and one at 7. There will be displays, goodie bags, and photo opportunities with Betsy Ross and Abigail Adams, and we'd love to see you there. Thank you.
No, you got one more.
All right, next up, we have Waste and Recycling Workers Week. And I believe our Public Works team has a handful of folks here to receive it. Give them a second to come up. All right. Whereas the nation celebrates the week of June 17, 2024 as National Waste and Recycling Workers Week, and whereas the city of Winter Haven has depended on solid waste service providers to keep the city clean and free of debris for over 100 years, and whereas the city of Winter Haven's hardworking waste and recycling professionals service over 19,000 residential homes and 18,050 commercial businesses per week, and whereas the City of Winter Haven solid waste service providers impact over 50,000 residents, indicating a healthy and continually growing city. And whereas the City of Winter Haven values and celebrates our solid waste employees for their service to our community and commitment to our residents and businesses. Now, therefore, Nathaniel J. Birdsong Jr., Mayor of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, does hereby proclaim June 17th through 21st, 2024 as Waste and Recycling Workers Week in the City of Winter Haven, and urges all citizens to support efforts and extend its sincere gratitude to all of City of Winter Haven's waste and recycling professionals. In witness whereof, he is hereunto set his hand and caused the seal of the City of Winter Haven, Florida to be affixed this 10th day of June, 2024. Signed, Nathaniel J. Birdsong Jr., Mayor.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I would like to take this opportunity to express our team's gratitude to the Commission for this proclamation and for recognizing Solid Waste and Recycling Workers Week. Every day, the men and women of our solid waste team ensure that collection services run smoothly, and they play a crucial role in maintaining the cleanliness and beauty of Winter Haven. The dedication of our solid waste team often goes unnoticed, but their work is vital. Rain or shine, they are out picking up what we all throw away, and many do not appreciate how hard these men and women work until the garbage isn't collected, and then suddenly, trust me, everybody notices. It is a clear reminder of how essential their daily efforts are to our community. And tonight's proclamation is a wonderful recognition of their efforts, and on behalf of the entire solid waste team, many of who are here tonight, I want to thank you for shining light on their essential services that they provide and for your continued support of the Solid Waste Division.
How you doing, man? Hey, how are you?
Hey, Sandra. All right,
Three, two, one. One more. Three, two, one. All right, thank you guys. Mr. Mayor, there is one more presentation this
From
evening.
Hart for Winter Haven.
So we have with us Brad Beatty with Heart for Winter Haven. If you're so inclined, we'll invite him to the podium to
Yes,
give his presentation.
come on up, Brad.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Brad B., Heart for Winter Haven, and I've brought with me my Director of Programs, Tabitha Keith, who's in the everyday workings of our grant partnership that we've had for the city, with the City of Winter Haven for, I think, going on 5 years now, to prevent homelessness and to rehouse homeless families in the City of Winter Haven. So just as an update, and this is sort of a mid-year report, it goes through May, so it's about 62.5% through the funding year. So we have almost a half a year left. Is we had goals to rehouse 10 families who are currently homeless, to prevent 20 families who are at imminent risk of eviction, and then provide them with stabilization services so that they could maintain in their housing stability. So good news, we've helped over 22 families so far, including 55 children in those families that would have been or were homeless. And that's just the midway point. So we have quite a bit to do, and I look forward to reporting the rest of those at the end. The one the other goal was as administering an accessory dwelling unit grant. We've only made one grant so far, but it was exceedingly successful. Ended up being a 3-bedroom unit that's now being rented below market value to a family. And I've asked Tabitha just to share a quick story about a couple of families, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I just want to share a couple of quick anecdotes from the people that we've served through this funding. Two briefly single mothers who one had 3 children, the other had 2 children. The first mother had unexpectedly lost one of her parents that she was living with, and that forced them to go into a hotel room with just her and her children. She could afford the monthly rate of the hotels, but she couldn't afford that initial move-in
the packet that was given out this evening is a total of $295,000, and I think our allocation for current fiscal year is $220. So roughly, $75,000 additional, and that's taking into account the reduction in the accessory dwelling unit funding, the inventory expansion there, and then also the additional funds for that voucher bridge program that I just mentioned.
Okay. And then the other question, Brad, since you're there with the microphone, I kind of have an idea on how this works, but for the edification of the other commissioners, we had a great meeting at the AHAC the other day about rental assistance, and I've talked to Cedric about it a couple of times, and I'm a proponent of it on some level. But the fear, of course, is people taking advantage and becoming dependent and those kind of things. Could you tell us a little bit about your process on how you look for those type of things and how you can assure us that that's not the case or not prevalent with Hartford Winter Haven?
Yeah, Tabitha doesn't mind, that's really her job every day.
Okay, that's great.
So through the Emergency Rental Assistance Program with the COVID funding, we did about $4.5 million of rental assistance. And I can understand how other people's opinions of dependency that this type of funding creates could have come out of such an experience. With the program that we offer, we do ask that people have skin in the game in order to be funded. So they have to do financial literacy. They also, in some cases, have to do employability training and be really upfront and transparent about where they are in their lives. This is not a handout, it really is a hand up. So that kind of prevents some of that enabling that you mentioned, or even just the kind of get it and leave. There will be none of that with this funding.
And you guys offer this training here
Yeah,
locally?
we offer it in-house, and we're also working to offer it at satellite sites so we can have it running on a continual basis, not only in Hartford, Winter Haven, but at other places, businesses and churches around Polk County.
Yeah, I think sustainability is a big issue for us, and so we're very careful to understand people's financial position before they're awarded any money to ensure that they can continue on. The lost transmission or transmission repair, the one-off thing is easy to understand, but some people just have a lack of understanding of how much they bring in and then how they're spending that money. But we make sure that people have a good understanding and that they won't be in that same situation where they can start creating margin to avoid that in the future.
And do you have a metrics on how your success, do you feel like you're shaking your head? That's good.
Yes.
How does that metric work?
Yeah, so we use the Arizona Self-Sufficiency Matrix, which covers 8 different domains: housing, food, employment, income, spiritual health, substance abuse, and mental well-being. And it's a self-assessment, so our clients get to basically assess where they are within those 8 different domains. Once we see an incremental change, whether forward or backwards, then we're able to, kind of assess our own impact that our programs are having or our wraparound services are having in their cases.
And I know this is a last silly question, Mr. Mayor, but is there ever enough rental assistance money? I mean, if we give you $10 million, will you use every penny of it? Is it just never enough, or is there a number that's enough?
I say there is a limit as to what's helpful. Right now, the only money that we know of that's available in Winter Haven is the money that we have in partnership with the city of Winter Haven. Had a conversation, a call from our mayor, if you don't mind me sharing this, Mayor. He had a referral for someone that he knew that was in need of rental assistance, but they didn't have children in our public schools. Had a very legitimate need. So there is a case to be made, and we talked about this at the AHAC, of SHIP money, 15% of it can be used for rental assistance, and there is a case to be made for considering that as part of the LHAP, and then making that change so that there's money available to people of other, who don't have kids in our schools.
But the money from the city of Winter Haven goes to families with children.
Correct,
Yes.
only.
Yeah.
And only those who can show that sustainability.
Okay.
And one other thing I'd share with you, Commissioner Dancer, and for the entire commission, it's it's the housing piece, it's the financial literacy, it's the other support services around that, the workforce skill development. Another thing that we're trying to do specifically with Hartford Winter Haven, because they have access to individuals who may be looking to, how do I get in a better position from an income standpoint, and they're working maybe in part-time or low-wage positions. We make sure that Brad has access to every job that we post, that's an opportunity for us to backfill our own positions with individuals that they see day in and day out that may be just enough leverage on top of what they're proposing with this pilot program to get them a little further past that hurdle. So, it's a multi-approach, kind of faceted approach to how do we improve the lives of people through maybe better employment, better skill development, better financial literacy, better housing opportunity.
Good idea. I'm done.
I guess, not a question, but I guess I'm asking about emergency housing. We know that the Salvation Army was here a couple months ago, and the property that was, that they formerly owned for emergency services, primarily for women. Of course, that facility or building was sold. And to my understanding, that the Talbot House has purchased that.
That's what I understand, yes.
And I guess the assumption is that they would be operating here in this area with the services they provide, similar to what they were doing, or they will be doing something similar to what the Salvation Army was doing prior to.
From what I've read, and I haven't had any conversations yet, although I think in the next week, representatives from Talbot House will be coming over. They intend to convert most of that space to apartments for families, women-led families with children, and essentially do the same kind of housing, short-term transitional housing or emergency transitional housing.
So how often are you, inquiries made about emergency housing with regards to your organization, and do you partner with other entities that do try to at least provide some wraparound or some services as well?
We probably get, like, in an emergency situation, the American Red Cross is a lot of time people's first point of contact, because they show up at the fire or at the disaster and then pass them on to us. I don't know of a lot of cases of that, but we certainly anticipate that, because as I understand, the Talbot House won't be, after the purchase, it won't be renovated for another year and be up and running until sometime in 2025. So it is a concern. We do have, as a part of our plan, a hotel voucher piece that would provide some temporary emergency shelter until we could find a permanent residence.
For children.
For families who have children in Winter Haven schools.
You took the words out of my mouth, so one of my favorite things about Hartford Winter Haven is that it is a hand up versus a handout, and you work with these individuals in providing the financial literacy that, for whatever reason, it's a whole nother debate, but why that was ever taken out of schools, right along with driver's ed, is probably why we have a lot more car accidents these days than if you had kept driver's ed in school, but that's another discussion for another day. I worry about, what is around the next corner. I think it's roughly like 1 out of 5 Americans are now maxed out on their credit cards, and I think a third of those are on their way to default, if not in defaulting already. And I fear that could potentially grow and, create another financial crisis, for lack of better words. To date, I've been up here now for 4.5 years, and from what I see, I think we've come a long way, but can you just speak a little bit to how far we've come, and are we spinning our wheels? Are we going 2 steps forward and then 1 back, or do you see progress? What kind of progress have you seen?
So I don't think we're spinning our wheels. I think what we set out to do, we've accomplished. We don't have any fresh numbers from Hearth for today. We really hoped that we would. But for instance, last year, we know where there was a 20% overall growth in student homelessness in Polk County schools last year at the end of 2023. There was a flat effect here in Winter Haven. So we had 500 in end of '22 and about 500 at the end of '23. So where we should have seen almost 600. So we do think that it is having the desired impact. We're also working with developers and talking as the opportunities arise to increase the number of scattered site affordable housing. The ADU program is a part of that. I think it was a resounding success, even if it was just one. Ended up being a 3-bedroom home that helped a family that was literally homeless and got them into housing and where they've remained. So I think we're having that net impact, and we have monthly meetings of local providers and business people that are interested in solving this problem, and both the resources and ideas, both from the city and from those other partners. It is having that cumulative effect, and we're getting the data that we need to understand where do we need to go next. And so I think the data supports this voucher program, and it's a best practice across the state of Florida. Florida Housing Finance has supported some of those, so we're modeling it on good practices. And I fully anticipate that by the end of 2030, we can stand here and celebrate, that we are now at functional zero with student homelessness in Winter Haven.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to just comment in addition to that. So I think what Brad said about the statistical data, the key metric is the number you're getting from the school district, because that's been the mission and the goal, the objective of the commission is how do we reduce the prevalence of homelessness among students within the Winter Haven area. And it's not just about that number stayed flat. It stayed flat in terms of high inflation rates. It stayed flat in terms of you had a significant increase in population at the same time. So there's a number of things that can contribute to that going up. So the fact that it stays flat, I think, is a very big win. That's reflected on last year. So once we see this year's number, that's going to tell us even more. I think that the beauty of the pilot project that we're talking about is that for a relatively small investment, because it's not giving a handout, it is truly a hand up. You've got to reach yourself. When I had looked at it initially, based upon a $100,000 initial investment, estimating potentially upwards of 13 individual families could benefit from that, and I was using a much larger number than the $500 voucher that Brad had mentioned this evening. So I think it's incremental steps towards that. And I think that maybe it creates an opportunity for it not to just be built off of City of Winter Haven financial support for that, but maybe that opens up an avenue for other philanthropic efforts within our community that want to do something to impact this issue and make a small contribution into a program that builds that trust fund even farther for that specific purpose. Because if it's $500 a month helps house somebody, and I'm looking to make a contribution of $6,000, $6,000 on its own doesn't do a whole lot. But if you put it towards a program like this and you have a handful of businesses and community leaders that want to do something like that, you can move the needle pretty quick.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's a mindset and an awareness, that you have to have. Before I was privileged to sit where I'm sitting tonight, this issue came before us, and we were dealing with it as a community across Polk County. And that in the year 2021, we were looking at least 4,000 students who were homeless.
Yes, sir.
That is why we challenged through Peace Polk County. And oftentimes you don't hear people talk about peace. If they do, sometimes people don't use it in a positive way, but I know better than that, because I know at least 23 congregations across this county have stood for, and that was to build people power to do justice, because we recognize that 4,000 students were homeless. That was a tragedy in our community, and that we are better than that, and we should do something about it. And even when Brad was the mayor, he certainly met with us to really deal with that issue. I think, again, it was about the mindset and understanding and awareness that this is a reality that we're living with. and that we can make a change in this very important area, that our children were going home and really many didn't have a place or a home to even go to. And because of that, we challenged Lakeland to do 500 units, and we asked Winter Haven to do 150. And Brad remembers this very well because that's why Winter Haven did the study. It's because people got behind it, felt that this is something so important. And what amazes me and what really blesses me is to be able to sit here and to know that we have that kind of awareness and concern about those who are less fortunate in our community, and we're trying to do something about it. And so I think that that speaks well to where we are, and I think we're headed in the right direction, but I hope and pray that we never give up on trying to make sure, like you said, bring it to where everyone has a decent place to live. And we just had a lady move into Florence Place, and Carolyn's about 70 years old, telling Carolyn's story the other day, and she lives on the 3rd floor, and but she didn't really have a place at all, and all of her belongings were in the storage, and I've got members been working with her, trying to help her get situated. Carolyn now has a bed in her place. She's got some, given her furniture, of other people working with her, so it's wonderful to see community coming together to make people's lives better. And that's, again, I think that's just where it really comes down to, is that we've got to care enough to make sure that we do whatever we can do to make it better for all those students. I think about children coming home and not having a place even to really call a bedroom or even a place to study. So let's keep up the great work in this area.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have no developments of note. Commissioners, you have the minutes. Entertain a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
motion to approve the minutes of the May 13th, 2024 regular city commission meeting.
Thank you. I will close the city commission meeting, open public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to the minutes may do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen the city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed by the same sign. We have no comments from the audience. However, if you would like to address this commission and you didn't sign up, this will be the opportunity. All right, seeing none. Ordinance is second reading. O-2419, would you read by title only, city attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O-24-19, an ordinance amending ordinance 2324, the 2035 Winter Haven Comprehensive Plan by amending the sanitary sewer sub-element to address septic to sewer conversions, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Thank you.
Yes. City manager, has anything changed?
Mr. Mayor, nothing has changed. Staff recommends City Commission approve ordinance O-2419 on second and final reading. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
motion to approve ordinance O-24-19.
Thank you. I will close the city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to O-2419 may do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen the city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye, opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, O-2419 is adopted. Commissioners, you have the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
motion to approve consent agenda as a whole.
Thank you. I will close the city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to the consent agenda may do so at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing, reopen the city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye, opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, the consent agenda is adopted in its entirety. We have no resolutions. We have ordinances, first reading. We won't take a vote tonight, but the second reading will be on June 24th. Ordinance O-2427, would you read by title only, City Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O-24-27, an ordinance extending the corporate limits of the city of Winter Haven, Florida, so as to include therein additional territory lying contiguous and adjacent to the present boundaries of the city of Winter Haven, Florida, describing said additional territory, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, and providing an effective date. General location, 2400 Avenue E Southwest. The area covered by this request is 0.91 plus or minus acres. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager?
Mayor and Commissioners, Clausen Trust is requesting the annexation of one parcel totaling .91 plus or minus acres for the purpose of receiving city future land use and zoning designations compatible with the existing developed commercial property. Staff recommends City Commission move this ordinance to second reading.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right, we will have the second reading on June 24th. Ordinance O-2429, would you read by title only, City Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O-24-29, an ordinance extending the corporate limits of the city of Winter Haven, Florida, so as to include therein additional territory lying contiguous and adjacent to the present boundaries of the city of Winter Haven, Florida, describing said additional territory, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, and providing an effective date. General location, that portion of West Lake Eloise Drive, lying between Lake Eloise Terrace and Hidden Oaks Lane. The area covered by this request is 3.95 plus or minus acres. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager?
Mayor and Commissioners, staff is requesting the Commission consider annexation of the West Lake Eloise Drive right-of-way lying between Lake Eloise Terrace and Hidden Oaks Drive, totaling 3.95 plus or minus acres. As part of the Harmony development, this road is being realigned a short distance to the west of the current roadway to better facilitate the further development of the site. Since this portion of West Lake Eloise Drive was not included in the annexation of the abutting parcel several years ago, it needs to be annexed into the city to allow the creation of the new building lots. Staff recommends this be advanced to second reading, sorry.
Thank you. We will have the second reading on June 24th. New business, Chain of Lakes Park, 2 park element not to exceed authorization.
Mayor and Commissioners, 2023, the Commission had awarded RFQ 2245 for the Chain of Lakes Park Phase 2 Construction Manager Risk Services to Rada Construction. Final park plans have been developed, and the Southwest Florida Water Management Design Permit has been reviewed and is expected to be received this month. First major work to be done on this project was the structural demolition. The next significant aspect, which RADA is completely finalizing bids on, is the park elements, that is the baseball fields themselves. And the third segment will include the architectural items such as the concession, restroom, and ticket office, and support buildings. While finalizing the bids, RADA has confidently estimated they can deliver a minimum of a base project for the park elements for $17 million. This includes the 4 collegiate artificial turf baseball fields depicted on the screen, the fan areas with accompanying accoutrement, site drainage and utility work is associated, the common areas, parking, both paved and unpaved, perimeter fencing, the berm path, landscaping, and other support areas. Based on the nature of this project, it's anticipated that as part of the park elements work, it may be prudent to issue portions of the project in multiple purchase orders instead of a traditional singular one. Quotes for the park elements are expected to be submitted to the city over the next 2 to 6 weeks, and staff is requesting that the Commission authorize the City Manager's Office to issue one or multiple purchase orders for these park phase elements not to exceed $17 million. An additional item is expected to be brought back to you later this summer for the buildings on the site. Again, the concession, restroom, and ticket office. That portion of the work is estimated to not exceed $2 million. We have a $20 million budget for this project. There is a table within your fact sheet that illustrates the design work for $845,000 approximate dollars. The ball fields, or the park elements, which included that demolition work previously authorized, not to exceed $17 million, and then the architectural buildings not to exceed $2 million, for a total price of $19.8 million, again, under the $20 million budget that has been established. Staff recommends the City Commission authorize the City Manager's Office to issue purchase orders not to exceed $17 million for the Park Elements Phase and present an additional agenda item with architectural work in the final GMP contract amendment at a future City Commission meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
motion to approve the authorization for Chain of Lakes Park Phase 2.
Thank you. I will now close the City Commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this item may do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen the City Commission meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none. New business item 13A is passed. New business item 13B. City Manager.
Mayor and Commissioners, Blue Sky Communities LLC has approximately 12.1 acres under contract on the east of the intersection of Recker Highway and 21st Street Southwest. Blue Sky intends to make application to the Florida Housing Finance Corporation for 9% tax credit financing, which is due in early July 2024, and are therefore requesting a local government contribution form from the City of Winter Haven. The local government area of opportunity commitment for Polk County is $460,000, and that is what the city's commitment would be. Blue Sky anticipates developing this site in 2 phases of 60 to 80 units each. First phase would serve families and workforce. The second phase would serve the elderly demographic. There is a summary of the anticipated first phase within your fact sheet, showing a total development cost of approximately $24,500,000. There's no immediate financial impact with this. However, if the application is approved, $460,000 would be contributed by the city, and the city will budget that from available funds within the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, although it's likely that the actual distribution will not occur until sometime around fiscal year '26. Staff recommends the City Commission approve the local government area of opportunity contribution in the amount of $460,000 and authorize City Manager to execute the Florida Housing Finance Corporation local government verification of contribution loan form. This is the same process we did for Florence Place. As you may recall, I think we executed that contribution loan form I believe in late 2021, and we just made that payment to Blue Sky in the recent months upon the completion of their project.
All right, Commissioners?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
motion to approve the local government verification of contribution loan form.
All right, thank you. I will now close the City Commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this item may do so at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing, reopen the City Commission meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, item 13B is passed. 13C, City Manager.
Okay. Try and keep this one as uncomplicated as we can. Shared with you the other night that your Grant and Aid Committee has done their work. I see Melinda Calagridis is here. Members of the ex officio, Christine Samuel and Alan Weeks are here. I don't know that I have any other members of the committee present, but they had gone through all of the applications that were received. A total of 50 applications were received. 9 of those were flagged as incomplete through that verification process that I had mentioned when we met in agenda review last Wednesday. After having gone through all of the applications, the Grant and Aid Application Review Committee had made a recommendation, or had spent of the $305,000, $271,000, leaving a balance of $34,000. As I shared with you Wednesday evening, there were applications that were denied or removed from the process because they either they had incomplete information or were lacking something, or in one case, the applicant didn't attend one of the trainings. So what we have presented for you this evening is really a couple options here, and I'm going to suggest that perhaps the best way, after discussing this with the city attorney earlier today, may be for the commission to take action on first the recommendation of the committee to spend the $271,000, and then give consideration to if you want to do anything with the remaining applications that were received. And because those, one of those applications does involve First Missionary Baptist Church, we would ask that the mayor and Commissioner Dollison refrain from participation in that vote, as being affiliated directly with the church in their respective roles. I will say that there are two scenarios to consider, and perhaps even a third based upon the conversations from last Wednesday. As listed in your fact sheet, one scenario would be to take the $34,000 balance that is set aside for the grant and aid program and divide that up proportionately amongst the applicants that were not funded based upon their proportionate share of prior year awards. That's depicted within your fact sheet, and you can see the dollar amounts that would go towards that. Scenario 3, as shown, considers funding those entities that were not included in the prior list based upon what their allocation was in either 2023-24 fiscal year or the 2022-23 fiscal year. In order to do that, I would need to identify within our budget efforts an additional $11,146. A fourth option, based upon discussion that was held Wednesday evening, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was Mayor Pro Tem Yates that expressed interest in considering Meals on Wheels at the full amount of their request of $20,000. That if that was done, that delta goes from the $11,146 to $13,646, which was what the additional amount would need to be. So that would fund, just for clarification, all of those that were deemed incomplete based upon their prior year awards from the city, if that makes sense.
Okay, so there are four options.
Yep.
First, well, there are four scenarios, but the one scenario is that we will take first. Entertain a motion to accept the recommendation of the committee to spend $271,000.
So moved.
I will now close the city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this item may do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, reopen the city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, the $271,000 will be dispersed. All right, now, commissioners, I will handle the scenarios, but I won't be voting. So,
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
make a motion to approve scenario 4 as discussed, with increasing, doing everything that scenario 3 has, with the exception of Meals on Wheels, and taking them to 20,000.
All right. I will now close the commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this item may do so at this time.
I have a question.
I'll close the public hearing, reopen the city commission meeting. We have a question.
Did we find out if Meals on Wheels charges?
I found out.
They
I
do?
called them, they charge their need-based. I've got some information from them. Their meals cost $9 a piece, and they never charge more than $5, but half of the meals they provide are free, and the other half people charge. So if they take meals out to Cypress Wood or Lake Eva or somewhere, then those people pay $5. But for people that can't afford anything, they don't charge them anything, so.
I think the information I was able to find out was the Meals on Wheels total cost for the year in Winter Haven is around 350,000 or just shy of that.
Yeah.
Large portion of that is all, private. They don't take any other government funding. If they took this, if these funds, this would essentially be the only government funding that Meals on Wheels receives or takes. Yeah, 50%, I think, pay $5.75 a meal.
Yeah,
38,
575, that's what it is.
38% are free meals, 12% are reduced cost meals, but everything is pre-qualified needs-based, as Commissioner Dantzler stated.
So, my problem, it's not a problem, because I like to give away this money. I don't want any money sitting in the bank in this type of scenario, and again, this goes back to the conversations we have with the TDC, where we're giving away a lot more money than this, about people that do the applications wrong, or they turn them in late, or they mess up, and somehow they get excluded. There's always a great debate about whether you're rewarding bad behavior by still giving those people money, or giving them their full allotment because they did something wrong. Even though it's something that's not their fault, whatever, there's always these stories that we hear. And I always fall on the side of, well, let's just give them the money. Next year, they won't do it. But there's always people on the other side of the aisle that think that we shouldn't do that because they have a process that they put in place, and they're supposed to follow the process, and you got to come to the meeting, and blah, 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 blah. So, and then as we discussed at the workshop, we're going to tighten up this process every year. We have a very good functioning committee, and they're going to make the process better every year. But at some point, we're going to have to get to the point where we actually say no. And then back in the next year, I see it all the time when people get excluded because they messed up. The next year, they don't mess up again if they come back and apply for their money. So I don't know how you give them the money and say, now, next year, we're not going to give it to you when we're proving to them that we are going to give them the money. But I still want to give them the money, particularly Meals on Wheels. But
I attended both of the meetings and, had an opportunity to speak with several of the ones that were excluded. And it's evident, like they know, I know what you're saying, but at the same time, I think these are tried and true entities that, historically we've given money to in the past. We know we've gone through the processes. And I hear the argument, but at the end of the day, these entities need the money to continue and thrive and do the things that government lacks. And they kind of fill that void. So I just think to deprive them because of a technicality, or they didn't dot this I, or didn't
what it
cross
was?
that
I mean, I was
T.
going to ask you, is that what it was? It was technicalities?
In my mind, it was, but staff will probably correct me on that. But I think, there was one, for example, that didn't attend the workshop. Well,
That's a problem for me, because
that-
you've got to go to those workshops.
which they attended in the past, and, so that's where I kind of get into the point of being a technicality. Like, well, I thought I already did this, we've already done all that. So I think that the process and system needs to be continually refined. It'll need to be refined after next year and the next year. Staff does an awesome job, but there's always something that you don't think of, that you miss, And so I think that's the ongoing refinement of this process. But again, I'll let staff talk to the technicality piece of it, but I felt like for the most part it was, there was, another one was, they said the form didn't populate the way that it should have populated, so one box was left empty. But then you look at it, well, everybody else's forms populated. I don't know what computer system they use or software they use, and, I've seen that happen too. So I just hate to deprive the community of these funds for these entities because of a box being missed. And I get the point, but.
If I could weigh in on that just a moment. One of the things that the committee, we discussed with them, because obviously they're their concern is very similar to yours, Commissioner Dantzler, is, you have rules in place and you have processes in place, and if you don't follow them, then, they really do no good. One of the things that we discussed with the committee during their second meeting as they were contemplating what to do with these particular individuals' applications, we will be making a proposed amendment to the process whereby we will shorten the application window, so they'll have less time to apply, but that allows us a period to do a application sufficiency review and contact those individuals with a singular opportunity to make corrections to things that we're missing. And so that, it's kind of helping them along in the process. And I think that's valid. I think that the requirement to still attend annual trainings will remain, because if there's any changes in the program, otherwise, that's how that's communicated and the opportunity for questions to be answered. I think one of the other recommendations that I'm going to look at to present to that Grant and Aid Committee is to remove the one-time single initiative, because we have not been able to do that based upon the number of agencies that we have applying. And in funding one of those at $40,000 eliminates upwards of, 8 to 10 of these individuals. So. But we'll bring those back to you, and we're comfortable with making some amendments to that. We grow this program, and it's a heck of a lot better than it was, say, 10 years ago.
My
So-
goodness.
Yes, and I'm so glad that our committee's doing it, we're not doing this, so I say we call it, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let's call the question.
I kind of think that, I want to give thanks to the committee and also to staff. You have to have guidelines. There has to be some guidelines. And so, and I understand that they missed some, but they have to know that it's a one-time forgiveness. You can't keep forgiving them. Otherwise, we're violating our own rules. So, and it's not that it's the funding amount, it's just that sometimes, that's what it is. And if you've applied for grants, this is a very simple, easy process. If they were to apply for other grants someplace else, it would be a lot more complicated. So I don't think we've made it so complicated that they, can't do it. If they need assistance, I know that you allowed them to come to the meeting and speak or talk if they had some issues, or if what it was that they had along the line, they could, remedy that at the meeting, I guess. Was that part of it? They could discuss it and explain.
They can, upon submittal of their application, they can also, follow up at that point. As Katrina Hill, our Director of Public Affairs and Communications, points out, and apologies, she's on vacation, so we couldn't be part of this conversation, but a lot of the applicants submitted at the very last day. So there's not that opportunity to call up and say, hey, I just submitted, can you tell me, did everything come through clearly? The sufficiency review will allow us to do that.
I just want to say that even though I'm not going to vote, I think our overall purpose is that during the course of the time that we have, as a commission, actually reviewed and did the applications ourselves, our intent was that if there was a proposal that really met the needs of what we are trying to do, that was going to supply that, then we would fund it. I would hate to see anybody not fund it for something that we really want to take place because of a disqualification, let's put it that way, for something that really in the process. So I really look forward to a revision or improvement to the process, so that when the committee is looking at applications and trying to make recommendations to us, they're making recommendations based on what we want to approve, and that there's nothing other than that what they have to be concerned about. So
That's a
At
great
this-
point. I'm just going to say that one of the things that we'll also be doing a better job of with you is in advance of those first meetings that we have, is
Yes.
getting a very clear understanding of what your funding priorities are in terms of areas of
Yes.
service. So that will address specifically that.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, call a question.
All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The record will reflect that
The
Mayor...
motion will reflect that Mayor Birdsong and Commissioner Dollison did not vote.
And will file the appropriate form with the city clerk.
Mayor, I will say that your committee does a great job. I encourage you all to reach out and thank them, and we're hoping that they will continue to serve. Ms. Calagridis has 2 more years after this one. The others have all served 3, and we're hopeful that they will volunteer to reappoint. If they don't, and we can't find others, then you get the whole process back. So maybe a little
Well, I
thank
know
you
for
will go
one,
a
I
long way with
appreciate it, and if we need to do something.
Give them a raise. Double their salary.
All right, let's move right along. We have no other business. So, City Attorney. Oh, wait a minute. City Commissioner Liaison reports. I'm looking at the wrong. Commissioner Densler.
Okay, attended the FMIT meeting down in South Florida. Nothing really to report what they're after this year, so kind of a quick meeting. Also went out to the game trail opening out on State Road 557 and I-4, it was actually in today's paper, or this weekend's newspaper. It's a game passage that goes under I-4, so deer and
Wildlife Corridor.
wildlife corridor, they can get underneath the highway without getting injured. It's pretty cool.
Yes.
And if you haven't been out there to see it, they've got a double roundabout too at 557 and
Oh,
I-4.
yes.
Not just a roundabout, but a double roundabout, so,
Scary.
yeah,
I
yeah.
hate that thing.
But we need more of those game trails. That's a pretty slick deal. And they had pictures of they already had pictures of the animals going underneath there, and there's these big cats and all kinds of stuff going underneath there, so. Also went to the Trapp property tour. I know Mr. Dawson was out there and got to see how big those buildings are that are being built out there. I want to hit some golf balls in one of those buildings and see if I can hit to the end. They're that big. Pretty amazing how big those buildings are. And then last, we had an AHAC meeting, and just talk briefly about our AHAC. Our AHAC committee is doing a good job, and we had an excellent meeting, and we talked about a lot of different things, and you guys saw Brad Beatty here tonight. He's the chairman of AHAC, so he keeps things moving along. He's developing nicely as a chair, doing a good job with that. And one of the things we discussed, of course, was rental assistance, which is something that I'm constantly pushing, as no mystery to any of you guys. And we have money that we've gotten from the state through SHIP funds. And the SHIP funds allow 15% of our allotment for them to go towards rental assistance. But what we have to change is we have to change our document. And I talked about this a year or two ago, and we didn't do it. And at some point, we're going to have to change this document if we're ever going to enhance our rental assistance for people that don't have kids. We're already doing rental assistance for families that have children. You heard Brad talk about that. But there is no funds available for people that need rental assistance that don't have kids. And the reason I asked Mr. Beatty to explain his process to us, so I wanted you guys to hear, they don't just hand out money to people, and it doesn't become a lifestyle for them to come in and ask for help, but they do actually give handouts, hand-ups and not handouts. So I'm going to encourage us to revisit this idea again of rewriting that document so that we could potentially use some of that money for rental assistance. And I applaud this commission, and I applaud T and the staff for what you brought for us tonight for a new program for some rental assistance for using Hartford Winter Haven, and I want to encourage us to get behind that as well. But our AHAC committee is functioning, it's doing a good job. Cedric has done a great job of getting us all kind of, and getting us going in the same direction, so kudos to staff for doing that. And I'm just encouraged with what I'm seeing with our Affordable Housing Action Committee, so.
To that point, we're almost more than half year with the SHIP program. Could we sort of see where we are?
Certainly.
I'd like to know, because I know the last report we got, we hadn't spent a lot of the money. And so I'd like to see where we are so that we could really look. It's just amazing since we talked about this. I've been inundated with people looking for rental assistance that have no kids.
Let me tell you, all you got to do is talk to the people on the front lines, and they all tell you that's what they need. I mean, down payment assistance is great, but the people on the front lines are saying they need more money for rental assistance.
So if we could get that,
We'll have it for the, let's try and put that for the next agenda, and an update with Eric and Cedric on what we've done to date with our SHIP program and where we stand.
okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Mercer?
Okay, went to the Winter Haven EDC open house and tour, and found out that it takes 15 to 20 minutes just to walk around the perimeter of the floor out there. Also, I attended the community open house at the Winter Haven Rec and Culture Center. It's going to be a fantastic building there. It's really going to be a beautiful place. And also went to the Lake Howard Heights 45th anniversary. And I did coffee and conversation, and Emily Rogers was the speaker there. And one of the fascinating things about this is there was a plumbing company there, and he talked about the master plumbers and above that, and he was in management, but he said one of the things that they do when they get a call for services, that someone from staff calls and tells them who's coming, and they also says he has, he's married and he has 3 children, and this, this is his name and everything. And I thought that was really interesting that they would even do that. Well, he said, well, now we've gone better. We do a video and we send that. So I guess there's ways of, I can understand that, because when you're going into people's homes and having to do things, they want to know who's coming in and feel comfortable with them. And it wasn't that I wasn't going to vote for the grant and aid. It's just that sometimes, that is my preference to, and it, not to penalize them, to give them forgiveness one time so that they can, be better about getting that. Because it puts some demands on, not only on staff, but it puts it on the committee. And they need those in order, they need those boundaries in order, to fit things within those boundaries, so.
That's it? Commissioner Donaldson?
I was able to attend as well the senior housing at Lake Howard, and the mayor gave a great greeting there, and place was packed, and they had stuff everywhere. It was just really a nice celebration. What I didn't count on was one of the ladies, she brought the mayor out to dance, and she decided to bring me along with him. So the both of us had to get out there on the dance floor. And then she whispered to me, she said, "You know how to do the electric slide?" I said, "I can slide, but I don't know how electric it's going to be." And but we had a great time, just enjoyed just being in that setting and among just some wonderful people. Got a chance to meet several of them who were veterans, and, knowing that, D-Day recently celebrated, acknowledged rather, just being able to see our men and women who served this great country. and to let them know how much we appreciate them for their service. Also I was able to go to the Northeast Complex, and there's a lot of kind of mixed emotions in that setting, and there's a lot that has transpired in that building over the years. 50 years, I think it's been in existence, and I want to thank the staff for doing an outstanding job just setting that up. It was really nice coming in, kind of had a mood setting, and presentations were exceptional. City manager, you did an outstanding job in your presentation, so appreciate you for that. And I think people really got a real good sense of what this new facility is really going to mean to our community. So a lot of people are excited about it. It's a lot of buzz about the new facility, and I think we can't wait to see what it looks like and be able to move inside of it. I think the other piece of it is so important that we try to capture our heritage and our history. Oftentimes, African-American history has not been told, and so, and some ask, why do we have a Black History Month? Because oftentimes, much of the history was excluded. And, but to know who Schoolboy Tergerson was, and to know his contribution, and recently his record has now been acknowledged, finally, as well as others. And you think about the greatness of a Babe Ruth, but there were those who actually exceeded what Babe Ruth had done in terms of home runs, but they were not given the due acknowledgement of that. So it's wonderful to see that happen, but also to be here on the night where you have Juneteenth proclamation and the Daughters of the American Revolution on the same night. I mean, that speaks volumes, to say the least. And we all know history. And so it's just wonderful just to know and to see that and be a part of that, and to see that with all the challenges we are facing in our nation, the visions that we see happening around the world, that I think Winter Haven can be and is a place where we recognize that our differences and our unique aspects of what we bring to this are really what makes the community a great community in which to live. So just honored just to be able to be a part of that.
Commissioner, Mayor Pro Tem Yates.
I'll pass this evening, nothing to report, thank you.
Okay, have a few things. I want to say about the open house for Taft property. 1.2 million square feet, non-air conditioned. The way they built that building is such a way that it doesn't need air conditioning. That's just amazing to me, that size building. And so I walked out in there because it was 12 noon on a very hot day. And it was very comfortable. I mean, I just couldn't believe it, really. If you told me that, I would say you don't know what you're talking about. But at least that's what took place. So I was very enthused about that. Went to the Northeast Recreational Center, and it really, staff, y'all just, when I walked through the door, I said, am I at the right place? Because it was so nice in there. Y'all did just an outstanding job, and the presentation, T. Michael, was spot on. What Reverend Dollison didn't tell you about Lake Howard Heights is that the ladies that we danced with were 90 plus. And they were moving better than us. 90 plus moving better than us. You get it? All right. Attended the scholarship banquet at our church that we give for our graduating seniors. And in this group, we had a salutatorium for Auburndale High School that goes to our church. 4.5, boo, 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 out of, I was lucky to make 3.0.
I heard he's going to FAMU too.
Yes.
So you going to FAMU? Okay.
Yes. And finally, I went to a place where they make candles. Scented candles. And they also have a massage place in there as well. So I'm saying, man, it smells good and you get a massage too? I mean, you know, I'd never seen anything like that. And they say they have groups that come there and it's like team building. So I'm saying, okay, man, I'm really feeling old, y'all, because in my day, I mean, goodness gracious, candle making and massaging in the same place. But at any rate, that's all I have for this evening. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commission. I have some good news to report. After the meeting started tonight, I've been advised by the attorney who represents us in the Form 6 litigation that the court has entered an order positively in joining the defendants, who are the state of Florida, must take no steps to enforce Senate Bill 774 unless otherwise ordered. The preliminary injunction binds defendants and their officers, agents, servants, employees, and attorneys, and others in active concert or participation with them who receive actual notice of this injunction by personal service or otherwise, and it's going to have statewide effect. It's not going to be just for those folks that joined the litigation. So that order came out. We're still studying it, of course, and there might be steps that may be taken by the state to appeal, what have you, but for now, the preliminary injunction was entered. So it appears that Form 1 will be the form that needs to be filed for municipal officials.
And I started mine.
So happy to report that to you. It was a 33-page order that I read quickly while I was listening to the other presentations tonight, and so I'll have an opportunity to digest it a little bit more, but I quoted from you what I thought was the relevant part. So that's a positive thing for our entire state, frankly.
Yes.
So
All right.
that's all I have. Thank you.
City Manager?
How do you follow that?
About candles and massages, well, I got orders of the court.
Just two things. One, again, want to remind you about the dedication of Reuben Williams Sports Complex on Saturday morning at 10:30. Been a while since we've had a ribbon cut on a new park in a new space of that magnitude. So just, it's going to be a great morning, followed by a fantastic event. Several of you commented on the open house at the Winter Haven Recreation Cultural Center. We are elated about that project moving forward, but I do want to make sure that I give recognition to Natalie Wilson and the team in Parks and Recreation who put that together, and that whole concept of kind of a send-off party feel to it. And so that was, I think, a lesson. That's a case study in how to do community engagement from start to finish on a project. So kudos to the Parks and Rec team for making that happen.
Yes. Deputy City Manager?
Nothing tonight, sir, thanks.
City Clerk?
Nothing this evening.
Deputy City Clerk? Emergency matters not received for the agenda? Oh, she's not back there. She was.
She stepped into
She
the office.
left?
She's in the office.
Oh, okay.
She left on the scented candles and massages.
A motion to adjourn. We stand adjourned.